All right, Rabbi, say good morning. Let us begin. We have a lot to do today, Baruch Hashem. Today's daf is Samech Tes. We're picking up on Samech Ches Amud Beis 68b. We actually left off at the Gemara, but let's just pick up at the Mishnah again, read it through quickly. Our shir this morning, our week of learning, is dedicated by Binyamin and Nechama Grossman in honor of Ira Grossman's 70th birthday, and Mazel Tov to Ira, Ne'ev Esem Shalom Tovos. And also our shir is dedicated this morning by Kiva and Leo Exelbaum, in honor of our children Yael and Shlomo Kanner, in a loving memory of our Oma Chana Bas Rab Naftali, in the occasion of her 20th yard site, the Neshama Shtav and Aliyah, and the family Einachama. And I both say, with that, let us begin. Says the Mishnah, Hazav Hazav. So we read this already yesterday. Quick Chazara. Hazav Hazav Shebatko Atzav Yom Rishon Umatu Tar. So let's remember again. This is Zav and Zavas. Remember now, at this point in time, we are talking about. Thank you. I have it. Thank you. Sorry. We are talking about Shiva Nikiyim, 7 clean days. So what you have over here in this following case is a Zav and the Zava who did a Bedika on day number 1, did a Bedika on day number 7. Both Bedikos were good. Only problem is they did not do any Bedikos in between. So of course the Shaila is, what is their status? Ushayam Shebein Sain Labatku. Suppose say 3 Machlokes. Rabbi Eliezer Omer Harein Becheskes Tara. Rabbi Eliezer says it's good. The bookend, the Bedikos tell us that not only is 1 and 7 okay, but everything in between is okay as well. Rabbi Yeshua says no. Ein lahem ela yom rishon bilvad. Rabbi Yeshua says no. All they have is day number 1. I'm sorry, ela yom rishon yom shvi bilvad. Rabbi Yeshua says all you have are the days you did the actual Bedikos on, i.e. days 1 and 7. Rabbi Akiva Omer ein lahem ela yom zayin bilvad. Rabbi Akiva says all you have actually is day number 7. So I will say, so if you look at Rashi says over here, why did Rabbi Akiva say only have day number 7? So Rashi says, Shema ro'u bein sayim v'sasu siras and arishona. Because also remember again, the concern over here is that maybe they saw a discharge between days 1 and 7, and if that's the case, even the Bedika of day 1 is simply meaningless. So I will say, it's a 3-way machlokas about what happens if a Zav does Bedikos on days 1 and day 7 of his or her Shiva Nikiyim. First opinion saying, Rabbi Eliezer saying, bookend Bedikos work to certify the entire Shiva Nikiyim. Second opinion was Rabbi Yoshua, that you have only days 1 and 7, but the rest of the days cannot count towards Shiva Nikiyim. And last opinion, Rabbi Akiva, all you have is day number 7. Says the Gemara, Tanya, Amar Rabbi Yoshua. So Rabbi Eliezer said to Rabbi Yoshua, so Rabbi Eliezer says that once you do Bedikos on days 1 and day 7, all 7 days are good. Rabbi Yoshua says that if you do Bedikos on day 1 and day 7, what do you have? You have day 1 and day 7, but not the days in between. So Rabbi Eliezer says to Rabbi Yoshua, according to your logic, Atamona b'seirigin. According to your logic, ultimately again, you're counting days out of order. V'atorah amra achar titar, achar lekulan, shalote tuma mafsekes beinehan. So let's say, Rabbi Shmuel, I don't understand. What do you mean that if she does a Bedika or he does a Bedika on days 1 and day 7, that in Rabbi Yeshua's models, day 1 and day 7 count, which means she needs another 5 days. The problem is you're counting Yemei Tara out of order. And the Torah says that halacha l'maisa, Yemei Tara must be free of any interrupting tuma in between. So what's going on over here? Rabbi Yeshua, so Rabbi Yeshua says, back to Rabbi Eliezer, but 1 second, that's not true. There are cases of where the Shiva Nikiyim are interrupted, yet they're still valid. Va'ato, iyatamode bezov, shera'a keri, ubenazir shahilech sichachos uperos, shemona b'serigin. What about a Zav who has a keri emission, right? A Zav who ultimately has a seminal emission. So we'll say, what's the halach where the Zav has a seminal emission? He loses that day. Right, he loses that day of the Shiva Nikiyim, but Lamaisa, the count remains uninterrupted. So we'll say, so let's say again, he's counting a Shiva Nikiyim, he has a seminal emission on Tuesday. Tuesday is not counted towards the Shiva Nikiyim, but he can resume the count on Wednesday. Similarly, Nazir, shehilech sichachos upros. So we'll say if you look at Rashi just in a moment. Nazir shehilech sichachos upros, shein safek oel. We'll say this is talking about a case of a Nazir, sichachos upros. Sichachos, we'll say, are cases of tree branches which hang down and form a potential ohel. Paraos ultimately again are protrusions from a building. So in these cases over here, the common denominator, says Rashi, is shehin safek ohel. Both say these are cases of safek ohel. Right now, the concern over here is there was the possibility that there was a kizayis of a mace underneath one of these protrusions, and the Nazir walked through as well. Now, there was a kizayis mace. The shaila is if these things constitute an ohel or not. So, what's the halacha? Ein osa yom ola leminyan neziruso. V'nimtza shemona lamed yom shal stam nezirus b'sirikin. So we'll say if a Nazir were to walk under one of these questionable ohel situations, what would be the halacha? The halacha would be that that day would not count towards his neder nezirus, but it would also not what? It would also not go ahead and negate all of the previous days observed. So the point that Rabbi Yoshua is making to Rabbi Eliezer is that you find cases of interrupted counts, yet there are still continued halach, that are still considered halacha l'maisa to be continuous. So in other words, you understand what's happening over here? Rabbi Eliezer, who says that if she does a badika, the zava does a badika on day 1 and day 7, all 7 are good. Rabbi Yeshua says, no, not all 7 are good, only 1 and 7 are good. Rabbi Yeshua, I don't understand, what does it mean 1 and 7 are good? That means you're counting Shiva Nekiyim, you're counting in an interrupted fashion. And the halacha is that Shiva Nekiyim can't be interrupted by any tumah. To which Rabbi Yeshua says, that's not true. There are cases of interruptions that are not really called interruptions. For example, if a Zav is observing Shiva Nekiyim and has a Keri Re'iyah, right, has a seminal emission, so what happens? That day is not counted. That day is not counted, but Lamaisa, the count continues. A Nazir is observing his 30 days of his Neder Nazirus, and he walks underneath a questionable ohel. So we'll say, what's the halacha? That day doesn't count towards his Neder Nazirus, but it also doesn't take away the previous days. So you see from here the ability in cases of doubt to essentially remove days from the count without interrupting the flow of the rest of the count. So the Gemara says, Rabbi Eliezer, Bishla Mahasam. Rabbi Eliezer will say to Yeshua, I don't like your examples. Your examples aren't good examples. I'll tell you why. In the case of Keri, the pasuk says, Latama ba'am rachmana. Sheno seser saliyam. So I'll say in the case of a Zav who has a Keri emission, it's different because there the Torah tells us, Latama ba, that when you have a Keri emission, it is metame that day. So that tells you that day is problematic, but Lamaisa, the count still goes on. V'imishum, the Gemara says, Eliyoma v'imishum michlufei zav b'bal keri lo michlif. Furthermore, again, people will not confuse the halachos of a zav and a bal keri. Furthermore, nazir shehilech al gabi sichos upros nami midarais ohel ma'al yaba yinon v'rabbanon hu digazer v'rabbanon midarais lo michlif. And Rabbi Elazar will say, listen, in the case of the nazir, I will say, the only case of tumah by a nazir that destroys the Nazirite period is what? Is Tumah Daraisa, which would be an Ohel Daraisa. Everyone knows that these cases are Ohel Dirabanan, and therefore one will not come to confuse a Dirabanan case with a Daraisa case. Aval Hacha, but in this case over here, so I'll say, so remember again, what Rabbi is saying to Rabbi Yeshua, let me get this right. You're saying in the case which you did B'dikos on days 1 and day 7, you're going to count day 1 and day 7. Why are right towards your Shiva Nekiyim? Why aren't you counting 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6? Why not? Because you're choshesh that maybe there was a safek that there was a re'iyah. So if that's the case of al-hacha, if that's the case that you have a safek re'iyah on days 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, people will easily confuse this with the case of a real re'iyah. And what's going to end up happening? People will assume that in a case where a Zav is observing Shiva Nekiyim, even if he or she has a real Re'iyah, then what? All they lose is what? Is that day, but the rest of the count can go on. So therefore, Rabbi Eliezer says to Rabbi Yeshua, choose a side, right? Take a stand. Either decide that the days are good or the days are not good. But this notion of accepting day 1 and day 7 and not the middle days is going to lead to mass confusion about what to do with Shiva Nikiyim. Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Shimon both say, Nivrin div Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Yoshua. Let's listen to this. We think Rabbi Eliezer makes more sense than Rabbi Yoshua. In other words, that if you're going to accept any of the days, then what? Accept them all, and don't start accepting days 1 and day 7. The Devi Rabbi Akiva Mikulam. And the truth is, Rabbi Akiva actually logically makes the most sense. Right? What does Rabbi Akiva say? All you have is what? Is the last day. Right? Because if there's suffix, all you have is the last day. But yet, aval halacha Rabbi Eliezer. But the halacha of Rabbi Eliezer, that you get all 7 days. It's also such a fascinating discussion, right? Rabbi Eliezer makes more sense than Rabbi Yoshua. Rabbi Akiva makes more sense than all of them, but the halacha follows Rabbi Eliezer, right? Namely, I both say that what? That halacha l'mais, if she does bedikos on days 1 and day 7, she gets all Shiva Nikir. So we'll say, so what does that mean, by the way? Here the Gemara just said, Rabbi Akiva makes more sense than Rabbi Eliezer. Yet Rabbi Eliezer goes, yet halacha, let's see, what do you see from here? You see the power of Masorah. And in truth is, and the real fundamental power of Yiddishkeit. That Rabbi says so much of what we have and so much of what we are is based on an unbroken transmission. And not lav dafka things that appeal to our intellect or that would make sense to us as individuals. What keeps us as a people and what keeps us as a system is a fidelity and allegiance that is bigger than the sensitivities or the logic of any one individual. That's the godless of this. And the moment that we start going ahead and trying to understand Judaism, Torah and mitzvos, through the lens of our own personal logic or sensitivities or isms, is the moment ultimately, again, that everything begins to unravel. An incredible yesod. Fine. And we'll say, by the way, you should know this has ramifications. We'll say, where does this machlokes have ramifications? By Hilchos Niddah. We'll say, we know again, what's the minimum number of bedikos that a woman could do over the course of Shiva Nikiyim and still have a valid Shiva Nikiyim. What's the halacha? Days 1 and day 7. So you see, we adopt this position of Rabbi Eliezer, that as long as a woman is doing bedikos, and say the halacha allows this all the time. If a woman has whatever type of issue, this often comes up postpartum, right? The woman who's going to the mikvah for the first time after giving birth, and again the area is still sensitive, or maybe even she's still experiencing some level of bleeding. We try to be as makel as possible with the bedikos, and the most makel construct for bedikos is 1 bedika on day 1. 1 bedika on day 7, and that gives her Shiva Nikiyim. Incredible. We'll say, now, you thought it couldn't get any more exciting, but it does. Watch this. So Zav and Zava now, who are checking themselves on day 1 and day 8. So we'll say, what just happened over here? Look at Rashi. That's Rashi in the daf. Yom Shmini. Kvar avru yimei asfira v'lo hayu sofan betara d'lo barka b'yom zayin. Fascinating. So we'll see, in this case over here, they did the bedika on day 1 of Shiva Nikiyim. Not on day 7. Instead, when was the next time they did a bedika? On day number 8. So I'll say, Ushari Yamim Lo Badku. And the rest of the days they never did a bedika. Top of Samechtes. Rabbi Eliezer Mahu. What's the halacha according to Rabbi Eliezer? Suppose Rabbi Eliezer holds that what? What did he hold in the Mishnah? Rabbi Eliezer? Day 1, day 7 gives you all the days. Okay, what about day 1 and day 8? Also, now remember again, day 8 is outside of the prescribed time. So what does that mean? So do we say Tchilas and Leka? So on one hand, maybe Rabbi Eliezer will say, listen, I'm good with bookends, but you have to have bookends. You have to have bedika in the beginning, you have to have bedika in the end. Here, you have a bedika in the beginning, right? In a moment which you do not have a bedika in the end. Or perhaps Rabbi Eliezer will say, no, as long as you have a bedika at the beginning, even if you don't have a bedika at the end, right? Again, I will say at the end, meaning at the end of the 7 days, you do have a bedika on day number 8, maybe that's going to be good enough as well. Amarav hihi. Rav says the truth is Rabbi Eliezer would hold that this case is okay as well. Tchilasan afa pi shein sofan, right? Ultimately, again, even in a case where there's a bedika on day 1 and not a bedika on day 7, but a bedika on day 8, Rabbi Eliezer would still hold that lamaisa she has a cheskas tara. Rabbi Chinina Abar tchilasan v'sofan ba'inan. Rabbi Chinina says no. In order to go ahead and in order to be able to say that there's a chazaka on those days, there must be bedika on day 1 and bedika on day 7. Hacha Tchilas and Ikan, Sofa Lekan. Of course, the problem over here is Rishi did the Bedikos on day 1 and day 8. You have the first Bedika, but you lack the second Bedika. So we'll say, so fundamental machlokes in the Shita of Rabbi Eliezer. Would Rabbi Eliezer hold that Tchilas and Afapi Shein Sofan, that it would still be good or not? So may say, the Gemara raises the Kasha. Okay, may say, B'shavin bezav ubezava, shebatku atzman yom rishon v'yom shmini, umatzu tar, she'in lahem ella shmini bilvad. So let's listen to this brayso. So the brayso over here says, and they agree. We'll see what the they is. They agree that if the zav and the zava only did a bedika on day 1 and day 8. Now the good news is both of the bedikos came out tar, but everyone agrees that what? All they have is day 8. That's all. So we'll say, so therefore, again, essentially, the Shiva Nikim will effectively begin as of when? As of day number 8. So man Shavin, when we say they, who's the they who agree with this? Lav Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Yoshua. Is it not the opinions of Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yoshua? Because also remember again, Rabbi Yoshua was the one who said, in the case of where you did book and bedikos, you get the 2 days, right? You did just the 2 days. Rabbi Eliezer said you get all of the days in between the bookends. So we're not talking about Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yoshua. Lo, Rabbi Yoshua of Rabbi Akiva. No, actually, it's not Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer Bepashtos would actually hold, even in that case, that Lamaisa what? All Shivanikim would still be good. Rather, who's the Shavin? The Shavin is Rabbi Yoshua and Rabbi Akiva. Amar Rav Sheshes, Amar Rav Yirmiyah bar Abba, Amar Rav. Next case, Rabbi say. So Rabbi say. So again, it appears that what the Gemara is saying is that according to Rabbi Eliezer, even if she just did bedikos, right, or he did the bedikos, this is not nida. This is zav and zava. This is Zav and Zava, right? Ultimately, again, even Rabbi Yeshua would agree that even Rabbi Eliezer would hold in this case as well, that the bookend logic works, and she would still have all Shiva Nekiyim. Pretty amazing. So the Gemara says as follows. Good. Fine. Amar Rav Sheshes, Amar Rav Yirmiyah bar Abba, Amar Rav. Niddah shefrisha betara b'shlishi shala sofarto leminyan Shiva Nekiyim. Let's listen to this. Literal translation is as follows. If a Niddah, a woman who's a Niddah, did a hefsek tara on the 3rd day in which she is bleeding, ultimately, again, that day counts towards her Shiva Nekiyim. So Rabbi says, what is happening over here? Niddah sfira lamala. Remember, again, from the Gemara's perspective, there is no Shiva Nekiyim by a Niddah. Right? Shiva Nekiyim is a concept by who? Is a concept by Zava. So the Gemara says, why would a Niddah be observing Shiva Nekiyim? Ela ima. Rather, the Gemara says, here's the case. Zava shefrisha betara b'shlishi shela. Let's listen to this case. If a Zava did a hefsek tara on the 3rd day. So we'll say, so again, we're assuming what's happened over here. So let's assume this is the case for just a moment. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, woman has a discharge. Right? 3 discharges, 3 days, she now becomes a Zava Gidola. Right? So we'll say, so now what happens? Zava Gidola requires Shiva Nekiyim. It sounds like what's happening over here is as follows. Now, both remember again, just a lot of the things we do by Hilchos Niddah today come from Zava. For a Zava to begin Shiva Nekiyim, what does she have to do? She requires a hefsek tara. She requires an internal examination to show that her zivus flow has stopped. Right? Once she does that hefsek tara, then she can begin Shiva Nekiyim. It sounds like over here what the Gemara is saying is that on the 3rd day, meaning her 3rd discharge, she could do her hefsek tara on day number 3, which is fine, but that day number 3 also counts towards her Shiva Nekiyim. To which the Gemara says, "Ima zava shefrisha b'tara b'shlishi shela sofar t'leminyan zayin Nekiyim." Amar li Rav Sheshes l'Rav Yirmiyah bar Abba Rav kikusaya Amar l'shmaiti. Does Rav suddenly hold like the kusim? Right? Is he espousing halacha like the kusim? Because what did the kusim say? The Amri Yom Sheposekes Bo Sofar to the Minyan Zayin. But apparently the kusim held that the day in which she does a hefsek tara can count towards the Shiva Nekiyim. But Bepashtas, that is not the halacha. Right? Bepashtas, Rabbi say again, the day that you do the hefsek tara cannot or does not count towards Shiva Nekiyim. To which the Gemara says, Kika Amarav lebar mishlishi. No. When Rav was saying is, he doesn't literally mean, he means that she's doing the hefsek tara on day number 3, but that day number 3 itself doesn't actually count towards the Shiva Nekiyim. To which the Gemara says, Bar Mishlishi Pshita. So okay, that's obvious. I mean, what's the chiddush over here? The third day, the day in which she becomes a Zava Gedola, she can do a half Siktara, and that day doesn't count towards Shivaniki. And what's the chiddush? Lo tzricha kigon de la batka ad shvi. Both say, what's the case? The case over here is where she didn't do a badika until day number 7. Vashmo'inon hasam tchilasan afa pi she'in sofan. And beforehand, we learned that what Rabbi say, if she has a badika at the beginning of the Shiva Nikiyim, even if she doesn't have at the end, the Shiva Nikiyim are still good. V'hacha kamash malon sofan afa pi she'in tchilasan. And here the Bryce is teaching me that what? Even if she only has a badika at the end of the Shiva Nikiyim and not at the beginning of the Shiva Nikiyim, ultimately, again, the Shiva Nikiyim are still good. Well, let's take a look at Rashi for just a moment. Rashi says over here, Rashi says, "V'hacha ashmin sofan afa b'shein tchilasan, the mishum b'dikas zayin mechaskinon kol shisha lefanav betara, hori lepaska b'shlishi, umi hafrasha betara ba'inon de mishochsak maya pasuach lekalach zigutar." So listen to this. So the Gemara is suggesting, we'll say, here is the incredible novelty. The incredible novelty is as follows: that in this, we learned before, that at least according to Rabbi Eliezer, that the halacha is if a zava does a badika on day 1, but doesn't do one on day 7. Right, she's doing one on day 8 or day later. That works, right? That's called tchilasan afa pisha in sofan. The chiddush that the Gemara is espousing now over here is that what? If you have sofan afa pisha in tchilasan, it works as well. So, for example, if a zava were to only do a badika on day number 7, and that badika would come out clean, that the halacha would be what? The halacha would be that counts as Shiva Nikiyim. Now Rashi adds in a very important caveat, which is what the case over here. That only works if what? If she did a hefsek tara. So if on day number 3, she did a hefsek tara, that hefsek tara shows that what? Shows that what? She is emission free. Once she is, it's like by cars, right? Right. Zero emissions, right? She's at 0 emissions, Baruch Hashem. Right? So I'll say, so the Maisa again, if there are no emissions, right? If the hefsek tara is clean, so that shows that's the chazaka that she's not bleeding, right? That there's nothing, she's not emitting anything. So that's enough for her to begin the Shiva Nikiyim. And even though she doesn't have a badika at the end of the Shiva Nikiyim, the badika at the end of she doesn't have a badika at the beginning of the Shiva Nikiyim. The badika at the end of the Shiva Nikiyim simply certifies that which she found by the hefsek tara, i.e., that she is not bleeding. So the novelty of your Rabbi is that a badika at the end of the Shiva Nikiyim will certify the Shiva Nikiyim, even though what? There was no badika at the beginning of the Shiva Nikiyim, and all she had was a hefsek tara. To which the Gemara says, why don't you both cases? So Rabbi said, so now what the Gemara is saying over here is, I had to teach you both halachas. Halacha number 1, that tchilasan afa b'shein sofan, a badika at the beginning of the Shiva Nikiyim, even though you don't have one at the end of the Shiva Nikiyim, certifies the Shiva Nikiyim. And then the second halacha is that a badika at the end of the Shiva Nikiyim, even without a badika at the beginning of the Shiva Nikiyim, is good as well. Why don't you both cases? Timau de tema, I both say first wide line, samech tasamud aleph, timau de tema tchilasan afa b'shein sofan, hu da'aminan du kimna achaz kayu. So you say, I'm going to thought as follows. I might have thought, I understand the case of where she does a badika at the beginning of the Shiva Nikiyim and doesn't do it at the end of the Shiva Nikiyim. Why? Why does that case work, Rabbi say? Because when you have a badika at the Shiva Nikiyim, what does that do? What does that do? That establishes a chazaka that she's not bleeding. So okay, as much as ideally I should go and solidify that chazaka at the end of the Shiva Nikiyim, we'll say the beauty of chazaka is that what? What does chazaka do? It creates a presumed state until you have concrete information to the contrary. So if she does the badika at the beginning of the Shiva Nikiyim, I understand why that certifies her status, even if there's no badika at the end of the Shiva Nikiyim. Aval sofan afa pi shein tchilasan lo. But I'm not supposed to do a badika at the end of the Shiva Nikiyim with no badika at the beginning of the Shiva Nikiyim. That logic doesn't apply. Kamash know that even in that case it works. We'll say, but why does it work? Because it's not totally true. Even though she doesn't have a badika at the beginning of the Shiva Nikiyim, she does have a chazaka. Right? We'll say, how is her chazaka established? Through what? Through the hefsek tara. Remember again, you did have a hefsek tara in this case. So the mais again, although it's not the ideal chazaka, it is a chazaka nevertheless, and therefore again works. So we'll say, so of course, halacha l'maisa, just important to put this out there. Obviously, our shiva nekiyim today come from Zava. We do not accept this premise, right? If a woman doesn't do a badika on the first day of shiva nekiyim do not get off the ground, right? You need a badika on day number 1, and you must have a badika on day number 7. The bookends are absolute necessities. Anything in between, there's room, right? If she forgets it or she can't do it, there's room to negotiate on that. But Lamai said days 1 and day 7, those bookend badikos are indispensable necessities, ultimately in contemporary Hilchos Niddah for women's shiva nekiyim. See, is this true? V'haki asar rabin amar master Rabbi Yosef Chanina. So we'll say we're going to go back now. We'll say, remember again, we had this case. Remember, we had this case where a woman leaves town and she's pregnant. She comes back and she's not pregnant. She miscarried. And I will say this was the wild case where she doesn't know what happened, right? In other words, she knows that she miscarried, but she doesn't know when she miscarried. She doesn't know, was it a zachar, was it an akiva during days of zivos. Remember, we had this case, and that's where you have all of these, like up to 80 different immersions that she's doing in order to go ahead and deal with all these possibilities. So we'll say the Gemara is bringing this up as a contradiction to the case. We're going to run through this a little bit quickly. So the Gemara says as follows: Imi v'haki asur rabin amar mas Rabbi Yosef Chanina toa. We'll say Toa is the case of a woman who comes back and she's not sure what happened to her. She's not sure. So in other words, we know she was pregnant. We know then that she left. She's not pregnant anymore. She miscarried, right? She didn't. One thing we know, she did not give birth unfortunately to a viable child. So Lamaisa again, she miscarried. We don't know what happened. V'lo yedana mai tiyufte. And I don't remember what the problem was. The kaimalon shavua kama de asila kama. So we'll say, because we said, what about this woman? When she comes back into town and she's in front of us, the first week the asila kama beleilusa mitbalinale, b'yimamalo mitbalinale. We tell her to go to the mikvah every night of that first week. We'll say again, the Gemara is going to go through all the different possibilities, but by day she doesn't go to the mikvah. Then I will say, now here's what's amazing. We'll say essentially what the previous sugya has taught us is that as long as you have a badika, this sounds like the conclusion of the previous Gemara. As long as you had a badika at some point in time in the beginning or at the end of the shiva nekiyim, your shiva nekiyim are locked in, right? That's good. So we'll say that's called the Gemara. That's what the Gemara calls it. You don't require sipurin lifanenu. Sipurin lifanenu means clearly defined, counted days, right? Observable days. Lav dafka that a woman has to count it in front of us. So she doesn't have to count her days in front of Bezin or things like that. But sipurin lifanenu means yemei tara that are clear and understandable and stand on their own. If a woman does not need sipurin lefanenu, let her go to the mikvah each and every day as well. Dilma, because we'll say maybe there's a possibility that what? Yoledes zachar bezovhi, because maybe she gave birth to a boy, to a male child, and it was Yoledes bezov. Va'avda la sipurin, and ultimately again maybe she did in fact observe the requisite days. We'll say, what do you see from here? You see from here that in order to go ahead and allow her to go to the mikvah, we have to be able to show that she has counted clearly defined days. We'll say, do we not set this up like Rabbi Akiva? The Rabbi Akiva holds that say she does require, again, remember, Sipur Lefanenu means clearly defined and objectively observable counted days. You do not require a Sipur Lefanenu. Disnan. Again, we'll say same case. Woman comes back, she's not sure what happened, but she says, I know that I saw blood on one day. So we'll say, what's the halacha? Matbalinon osa test tevilos. We tell her to go to the mikvah 9 times, Zayin Niddah, 7 times to take care of a number of variations regarding Niddah, Utre leziva, and 2 times to take care of any variations for Niddah. If she comes back and she says, I saw once, and it was Ben Hashmashas, so we'll say, what's the halacha? Matbalina also Yud Aleph Tfilos. We tell her to go to the mikvah 11 times. So 11, Yud Aleph Ma'avidatayu. Rabbi Yirmiyah B'difti Kagon Shabasa Lefanina Ben Hashmashos V'Havyan Tamni Lenida Utlas Leziva. Because we'll say again, it's a case of Ben Hashmashos. Therefore, you have a Safek Yom Safek Laila. Therefore, we tell it to go to the mikveh 8 times for Niddah purposes, 3 times for Ziva purposes. Laura Isi Kalikar. We'll say, watch this. What happens if a woman comes back and she says, I never saw any blood? I never saw any blood. What's the halacha? Matbalinan Osa Tesvav Tvilos. So you make her go to the mikveh 15 times. To which the Gemara will say, something what just happened over here. If one comes back and she says, I saw dam, right? I saw dam for one day. So we'll say, so either we're making her go to the mikvah 9 times or 11 times. If she comes back and she says, I never saw blood, we say, what? 15 times. To which the Gemara says, Amarava, Hai Dina, Delo Dina. This is an example of a halacha that's not a halacha. Or it's a halacha that makes no sense. We'll say, listen to this. This sounds like the halachas, right? Dayani begalchi. We'll say this sounds like the type of halacha that the judges in the city of Galchi would adjudicate. So we'll say, listen to this case in Galchi. This was a city. Galchi was a city, and here's an example of just the illogical legal system in the city of Galchi. Listen to this. The Islay Tura Liri Chaydan. We'll say, here was the halacha. If you owned livestock, if you owned cattle, right, or oxen in the city. So it sounds like there was like a certain element of like socialism that was involved over here. So if you went ahead and you owned an ox in the city of Galchi, you were responsible for taking care of all of the city's oxen for one day. Right? So it was like a collective. So you were obligated to take care of all the city's oxen. Right? The Lesle Tura, if you did not own oxen, Lirei Treyome, you were obligated to graze the city's flock 2 days. Right? I don't know, 2 days a week, 2 days in a month, whatever it was. So what's this? You hear the logic over here? So if you had an ox, you were obligated to take care of the collective's oxen for, we'll call it once a week. Right? You had no oxen, twice a week. So the Gemara tells a story. Isrami le Yasmu bar Armalta. So I'll say one time there was a Yasim, the son of a widow, who did not have oxen. He himself did not have oxen. Yoav le Ture. And they gave him the city's oxen to watch for 2 days. He was very unhappy about this. So what did he do? Azul nachsinhu. He went and he shechted all of the oxen. Okay? So the city elder said, Amar lahu de'isle tura lishkal chad mashra. Whoever owned an ox, you could come and take one hide. De'lesle tura lishkal trei mashri. And whoever didn't have an ox could take 2 hides. So Amri lay my high. So the city's people said to the Dayanim, what are you talking about? So the Gemara says, my high the kamret. Amr lahu sof dina kitchilas dina. So the judges of Galchi said it's simple, right? The end halacha just mirrors the first one. Tchilas dina lav man delesle adif. We'll say just like in the beginning, the halacha was whoever didn't have an ox had greater responsibility, had a greater stake in the oxen. Because then we're going to both say, what was the halacha, right? In Galchi, right? If you did not have oxen, you grazed the flock twice, right? So just like those who didn't have oxen had a greater stake in the flock. Sof dina nami man delesle adif. So to what? At the end, right? So to now in dividing up the hides, those who do not have a stake in the flock get more as well. Okay, so we'll say, so the idea, so again, remember, the Gemara just bringing this over here as an example. Rav is saying, when a woman says, I never saw any dam, and now you're going to tell that she has 15 tvilas, that sounds like this came out of Galchi. I guess this is like the Talmudic equivalent of Chelm, right? So, like it sounds like it came out of Galchi. What kind of craziness is this? To which the Gemara says, "Hacha nami umahecha damara isi sagalei betisha tvilos." So if when she said that I saw blood, it's enough if she goes to the mikveh 9 times. Ibiyad aleph tvilos. Hecha de ka'amra ihi lora isi baya chamesh esrei tvilos. Now in a case where she said I never saw any dam, you're going to make her go to the mikveh 15 times. It doesn't make any sense. Ela imahachi. Rather, here's what you have to say. What's the case? Ra'isi ve'eni odea kama ra'isi. Rather, she's saying is I saw dam, but what? I don't know how much dam I saw, right? Or I don't know how many days I saw. Or furthermore, ibi me nidra isi, ibi me zivar isi. So we'll say in this case over here, she's not saying I didn't see. She's saying I saw, but I don't know what I saw. I don't remember how many days I bled. I don't remember which days I bled. What time of the month? Was it days of Zivos, days of Nivos, days of Zivos, days of Nidos? So what's the halacha? Matbalina nosa tesvav tilas. We'll say in that case over here where she's really not sure, we make her go to the mikvah. We tell her to go to the mikvah 15 times. That takes care of all possible variations. Asay kaman biyamama, if she came before us by day, Yahavin Allah, we tell her to go to the mikvah, Shev Niddah, 7 times ultimately again for her nidas, Amabezavosai, Vitimni leziva, 8 times for zivos. Asay kaman balelusa, if she comes before us at night, Yahavin Allah tamni lenida, v'shev leziva. We tell her to go to the mikvah ultimately 8 times for nida, 7 times for ziva. Ziva tamni baya. So I'll say, but 1 second, but for zivilos, you're going to tell me then just she really should require 8 tvilos. Ella idi v'idi shev lenida v'tamni leziva. The Gemara says, you're right, rather in both of these cases it'll be 7 times, 7 immersions for nida, 8 for zivos. Belelusa tamni lenida boy. But similarly, she comes before us at night. There should be required 8 tvilos for nida. To which the Gemara says, Ziva de psikale de lo shnaki asya kaman biyamama lo shnaki asya kaman balayla chashivla. Both say, in the cases of zivos, where ultimately again it really makes no difference if she came before us by day or by night. That doesn't impact the number of tvilos that the Gemara discusses. Niddah de lo psikale de chi asya kaman balaylusa by. Niddah de lo psikale, but I will say by niddah, which is not necessarily a defined halacha, because again it depends when she's coming before us. Dichi asya kaman balelusa by timni. If she comes before us at night, she requires 8 tevilos. Biyamama lo ka by timni, but yet by day she will not require 8 tevilos. Lo ka chashivle. Ultimately, again, that case is not reckoned in the list over here. So we'll say to come full circle. V'isaraitcha si purim lefanedo ba'inan. So we'll say, and if you hold that in general, that for a woman to be able to go to the mikvah, she requires defined days that were counted in front of us. Once you understand, counted in front of us doesn't literally mean that she counted days in front of us. What it means is there's a clear number of counted days that occurred in the context of a normative counting. So kohani tvilos lamali. Then why are you even dealing with this whole case? Very simple. If a woman shows up, Rabbi say, and here's what we know. What do we know? We know that when she left, she was pregnant. We know now that she came back, she's not pregnant. We know, therefore, again, she miscarried, but we have no idea what happened. If you require sipurim lefanenu, which means that in order for a woman ultimately, again, to have shiva nekiyim, right, ultimately, again, it has to be an organized count that occurs, quote-unquote, in front of us. When a woman shows up and she has no idea what happened, there's a very simple resolution. What's the simple resolution? Tispor zayin v'hader titbal. Say, listen, lady, I'm sorry, we have no idea what happened to you, right? So therefore, very simple. Shiva Nekiyim starting now. Go to the mikveh afterwards. Why are you dealing with all of these cases? And as Rabbi say, the only So I'm sorry. Rather, say, what must you see? You see from here that Allah Lamaisa. This reflects the view of the Rabbanon, who did not require what we call sipurin lefanenu. Look at Rashi. Elav shmamina Rabbanon he de pligi aled Rabbi Akiva the Rabbi damar lo ba'inu sipurin lefanenu ki Rabbanon srili. So we'll say you see from here that ultimately this reflects the view of the Rabbanon, that ultimately we do not require sipurin lefanenu, and therefore Allah Lamaisa we have to negotiate, we have to navigate all these different possibilities. Amar Rav Acha Brei Rav Yosef, Amar Rav Acha Brei Rav Yosef Ravashi. Lav terutze kamatartzonle taritz ve'emachi. I don't like your answer. Rather, why don't you give the following answer? So say, what's the case over here? She says, I know that I counted, but I don't remember ultimately, again, how many days I counted. Look at Rashi. Safarti, badakti kitzas nikiyim okulon. I know that I observed some of the Shiva Nikiyim, or maybe even all of them. Ve'eni yodas kama, but I don't remember how many. Oh, Shema Nikiyim sharaisi lav achar yimei hazov hayu el achar yimei nidos. So we'll say, so she said like this, I know I counted some days, but I don't remember how many days I counted. I'm also not sure, did I count Shiva Nikiyim after Zivos, or did I count Shiva Nikiyim after Nidos? I'm just not exactly sure what it is that occurred. Vimbi mei Ziva Safarti. So I'll say, oh, sorry, imi mei Nidos Safarti, mei Ziva Safarti. What's the halacha? Mat balinu nos atesav tvilos. The Rabbi said we tell him to go to the mikvah 15 times. 15 covers all the different variations and possibilities. So the Gemara says, but if she says, I counted, but I don't know how much I counted, Chad Yoma Miha. So I'll say, so ultimately, again, one thing we know, which is for sure, we're assuming the day that she's coming before us is not a day that she counted. If that's the case, ultimately, again, that there'll be one tefillah that's missing. Rather says the Gemara, interpret the case instead as saying where she says, I'm not sure if I counted or not. If I'm not sure if I counted or not, that halacha lemaisa would ultimately again require these multiple tefillah. So I'll say, so bottom line, to condense all of this into one line, is you see that ultimately there's a fundamental machlokes as to whether or not what we need what's called sipurin lifanenu. In order for a woman to have shiva nekiyim, do we require ultimately again that those be clearly observable, countable days that occur, quote unquote, in front of us, or not? If you hold that you require sipurin lifanenu, then when a woman shows up in front of Beis Din and essentially says, I have no idea what happened, we say, listen, we're not going to even try to speculate. Instead, what are we going to do? Start Shiva Nekiyim as of now, observe 7 clean days, go to the mikveh at the end of those 7 days. And that's the end of the story. If, on the other hand, you say that you do not require Sipur Lefanenu, then above say that's when you would have to try to navigate every single possibility that may have occurred to her over the course of her absence from in front of the Beis Din, and that's how you end up with these cases of 8 tevilos, 11 tevilos, 15 tevilos. Good. Says the Mishnah. Azav anidai oledes hamatzora shemes. We'll say it's a fascinating case. If you have a zav or a zava, a niddah or yoledes, or a metzora, right? It's a party, right? Or all of these individuals shemesu. They both say, now they died. Not all they died. It's only one example, right? The person died, who's one of these categories. Mitamin b'masa. They convey tumas masa. Now they both say, tumas masa means what? When you carry something. So if you carry, now remember that's carrying even without contact. So let's say, for example, you're carrying the zav or a zav or the niddah yoledes metzora on a mattress. So I'm not touching the person. That's called tumas masa. Until when? Ad shima kabasar. And the corpse conveys tumas masa, up until again the body decomposes. Yimu kabasar decomposes. So the Gemara says, Ovid Kochavim. Now both say, we're going to see, Rashi already points out over here, that we're going to see what's the Chiddush over here. In other words, any mace conveys Tumas Masa, right? So we'll see exactly what the Mishnah say. Ovid Kochavim Shemeis. So we'll say, actually very interesting. If a non-Jew dies, Ovid Kochavim dies, Tahar Milatame. Ultimately, we'll say the corpse of an Akum does not convey Tumas Mace. Fascinating. Look at Rashi for just a moment. So even though when a zav is alive, remember again, when an akum is alive, an akum has the status of a zav. Has the status of a zav. Listen to this. An akum, think about this for just a moment. An akum, when he's alive, is he subject to the laws of Tumantara? No, right? Tumatara is a halach in Torah. So we'll say, so technically speaking, an akum when he's alive is tar. Chazal conferred a status of zivus upon an akum. Now they did that ultimately to create a distance between Jews and Gentiles. So, but when he dies, he has no tumas as well. So I tell you, by the way, this is this was like a big thing. This is a couple of years ago. Maybe they still have it now in the. Science Museum downtown there, the mummies. So there were a number of frantic coin shilos about this. Also, I just want to point out, the Mishnah here makes it sound simple, that an akum doesn't convey tumas meis. It's actually machlokes in halacha. And in fact, the Shulchan Aruch rules that Kohanim should be machmir even with a non-Jewish mace. That's why, again, Kohanim avoid mummies, right? Whether you know they're Jewish or not Jewish, better to avoid. Right? It's good. That's free advice, by the way. You could take that. You could use it. So as I said, we'll see in the Gemara a little bit more about this. So Beis Shammai says, "Kol hanoshim mesos nidos." What's an incredible halacha? Beis Shammai says, all women when they die, listen to this. All women when they die are considered to have the status of a niddah. We'll see what that means. Beis Hillel says, no, the woman who's a niddah is a woman who dies in a state of nidus. If she doesn't die in a state of nidus, we don't assume that she is in a state of nidus. So we'll say, here we go, Gemara. Let's do one line. My b'masa. So we'll say, what does it mean when you open up the Mishnah and you say, Zav Zava Niddah Yoledes Mitzora that died, they're Metami Tumas Masa. Every base is Metami Tumas Masa. Ilema b'masa mamish. If you want to say it's mamish Tumas Masa, Atu komes milo metame b'masa, and every other corpus is not metame b'masa. We'll say every corpus is metame b'masa. What's the chiddush over here? Rather, watch this. Elamayim b'masa be'evin misama. We had this last week. Evin misama is something as well. So listen to this. Generally, Tumas Masa says like this: if you have a mace, let's say on top of a let's keep it simple, on top of, let's say, a mattress, a cot, and there's something tar underneath that mattress or that cot. What's the halacha Rabbi? That item underneath the mattress is tameh. Why? That's called tumas masa, right? Because it's underneath something supporting the mace. Now, that tumas masa of a mace only applies to something which can technically be lifted with the mace on it. Even Mesama means a very, very, very large stone that cannot be lifted. The technical halacha is as follows, that if you have a mace on top of a very large stone, and there is a tahar item underneath that stone, that tahar item does not become tamei tumas masa. Even Mesama does not convey tumas masa, because it cannot be moved. So the Gemara says, "Dichsiv." This he quotes over here the pasuk from Daniel. Ve'hisayis even chada v'sumas al pum guba. So also listen to this. So this is by Daniel when Daniel was put into the pit, right? The lion pit. So what they did is, so Daryavish, they put a stone on top of the pit, so no one could escape from the pit of the lions. So we'll say, now watch this. Now the Mishnah is teaching something different. Although normally the halach is that what? If a mace is on top of an even mesama, a stone that cannot be moved, so that there's no tumas masa. So which means we'll say anything underneath that stone does not become tameh. The exception to that rule is zav, zava, niddah yoledes mitzora. That if their corpses are on top of an even mesama, ultimately again it does convey tumas masa. What's the reason for this? Amarav, my time, Amarav gzeira shemi yis alpha. But we'll say, listen to this. We'll say this interesting halacha. If a zav, however, is on top of an even mesama, I will say, then what's the halacha? The halacha is a zav does convey tumah to that which is underneath the rock. I will say that's if the zav is alive, right? If the zav is alive and he sits on top of an even mesam, he sits on top of a large rock, even that's tumas medrus, right? Even that which is underneath the rock, ultimately again is going to become tameh as well. What were Chazal concerned about? Chazal were concerned that if we say that the corpse of a zav on an even mesama does not convey tumas masa, people will mistakenly think that what? That even when the zav is alive, it doesn't convey tumah to that which is underneath the rock, and that is false. Therefore, in terms of as a gzeira, they said that even when a zav who has died is on top of the rock, it conveys tumas masa to that which is underneath the rock. It'll be a rabbinic tumah, but tumah nevertheless. It's a gzeira, lest you come to confuse a dead zav with a living zav. Tana Mishon Rabbi Elazar says, Ad she'yibake kresi. We'll say that ultimately again, until what point in time does the zav corpse convey tumah? We'll say it literally means until his stomach opens up. We'll say, so what it probably means is not literally until his stomach opens up, but lamaisa. Actually, I skipped a line, I think. Amrav Gzir Shemi Yis Alpha. Rav says it's a Gzira that the Zav may faint. If he faints on top of the rock, remember, a Zav who faints is laying on top of the Even Mesama. There's something tar underneath the rock. What's the halacha, Rabbi? What's the halacha? The item underneath is Tameh. There's a concern that people will come to confuse a fainted zav with a zav who has passed away, right? And say that it's, so therefore we'll say, in order to avoid any kind of confusion, essentially, whenever the zav is on top of an even mesama, whether he's alive or whether he has passed away, halacha l'maaseh conveys tumah ultimately to that which is underneath it. Even though normally there is no tumas masa by an even mesama, Here, ultimately, again, there will be Tumah. Until what point in time does the Zav convey Tumah? Rabbi Eliezer Omer Achi Baka Kreso. Literally until the stomach opens up. Which Rashi points out actually means something a little bit different. It probably means up until the stomach cavity sinks in. After a certain point in time when the internal organs begin to, I guess, decompose. Shalamai said then the stomach cavity sinks in. At that point in time, the corpse of the Zav no longer conveys Tumah through Evan Mesama. All right, so stop over here. We'll pick up in 1-2. That's my. I will say just a reminder, tomorrow is going to be a regular schedule, even though again it's January 1st, the holiday, we're going to have a regular schedule, which 5, Daf Yomi 5:55, Shachris at 6:45. So for anyone who's going to see him Hashas, Emir Hashem, to be able to be at the buses on time. Shkoyach.